Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I hope you've all had a terrific Tuesday and a great week so far. Today we're going to be diving into Cardano, and we've got a lot to share with you, lots of exciting things going on within the Cardano ecosystem, and lots of sort of overall cryptocurrency market data that we want to look at in this video. We are, of course, going to dive into SundaeSwap. Their testnet is now live. I will briefly go over this. It's very similar to a Uniswap. All the interfaces of these kind of DEXs are very similar. Some are a little bit more complex than others, but the basic sort of features are very similar. So I will skim over this. I am going to wait until the actual main net to show you guys how to, for example, add liquidity, swap, etc., etc. You essentially just connect your wallet to this protocol. In this case, it's the NAMI wallet for the testnet, and away you go. You can start seeing how swaps would work, etc. So we'll skim over this. This is really exciting news for Cardano, because this is essentially the first signs of life within the DeFi space. SundaeSwap is one DEX of many, and it's one protocol, one DeFi application of many. We've covered a few of them on this channel now that we're very excited about. So we are going to also skim over that. We're going to be looking at Bitcoin. We're going to be taking a look at the market as a whole. We are absolutely going to be diving into the price of Cardano, because it does look somewhat bleak. But I'm here to bring some good news, ladies and gentlemen. In yesterday's video, we spoke about how our original price prediction that we had for a long time prior to the end of the year doesn't look like it's going to come to fruition end of year. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I'd still absolutely, and let me make this point, people have very selective hearing. I still 100% believe you are going to see the prices that we stated for Cardano. We have always said end of year, end of cycle perhaps. We are not there yet. You are still in a bull market. There's been no confirmation that we're in a bear market. What you have with people saying we're in a bear market is more than likely people who have already sold and are hoping that that is the outcome. Because there has been we've not gone on in this entire macro structure for Bitcoin and of course Cardano, and this is what we're going to talk about, to put in a lower low. Since March 2020, Cardano has just been nothing but higher highs and higher lows, and you're still there today. We are at a bit of a crucial level given where we've pulled back to and how we haven't got that much room to go before the entire structure is invalidated, but we're going to cover all that in this video. This is quite a comprehensive packed video, if you will. We're also going to be taking a look at some interesting data that sees hodlers continue to hodl and actually accumulate throughout these dips. What you're seeing is you're seeing Bitcoin become more and more illiquid, and that means that it's not liquid and so easily traded. Hodlers are gobbling every single dip up. We see this with whales, etc., etc. We're also going to be talking about the sell-off that we had and what really caused this. And this has a lot to do with Bitcoin, futures expiring, liquidations. We saw the third largest on-chain capitulation in history over the weekend. This, of course, had an effect on the entire market, and Bitcoin really is still that ship, that tide that rises and sinks all ships. And we're going to get into that because this is a really interesting week. You did mention this in our earlier video. This is from Glassnode, which essentially is an on-chain analytics company for Bitcoin, but they also do other altcoins. And of course, Bitcoin is very tethered with the overall crypto space. We are going to get into it and look at a few, this feed in particular. And this is really going to kind of summarize what went on and why, in actual fact, you don't really have anything to worry about, in my opinion. Let me make that apparent again. We are still in a bull market. There's been you haven't even put in a new low here. What's happening right now, in my opinion, you're going to see some sort of capitulation. We haven't, although this wick is very promising, seen a sort of V-shaped recovery just yet. We may see some sort of capitulation a kindred to the prior two periods that came after a sell-off, a liquidation wick like the one we saw a couple of days ago. So we've got a lot to get into. Let's start with the markets. Markets are looking a little bit more perky today, which is always nice to see. But lots of people calling for this as a dead cat bounce. Too early to tell at the moment. It really, we are holding key levels on a number of different indicators. We're holding key levels on the charts. And one thing that's interesting, I actually drew this into the chart the other day, was can you see this sort of descending support here, but it has previously been resistance. This kind of trend line here is significant, and you actually caught it quite nicely with this wick, pretty much perfectly from where it's previously acted. So that's also there's lots of good signs in the crypto space. It's not all doom and gloom like people would have you believe. Let's get into SundaeSwap. SundaeSwap is looking like it's going to be, and we do sort of already have a DEX, this one over here, that's already launched. They're integrated with Bitcoin Cash. I'm not really 100% sure what's gone on with them. But SundaeSwap is looking like one of the first DEXs to launch, and they now have the testnet. Charles has also said that we're likely to get this before Christmas, the actual mainnet. This is huge. We spoke to you about why this is huge, because this will see Cardano get eaten up and locked into these protocols in the forms of liquidity providing, etc., etc. There's going to be some fantastic opportunities on the horizon, ladies and gentlemen. I do not think that the pessimism is warranted. I understand that the price action is very depressing. Remember our Wall Street cheat sheet? Remember the Cardano cheat sheet? Very applicable today, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't think you've got anything to worry about. So it's somewhat similar. I do like the colors. It's like a DEX, essentially, or it is a DEX. It's very kindred to Uniswap and PancakeSwap. And essentially, you can see here, you've got your liquidity pools. You essentially connect your NAMI wallet up here, guys. I think this is the only wallet that they support, and you'll be able to sort of preview how this will work. So, for example, typically with a DEX, you'll have Cardano. Another reason why the price of Cardano will go up, because people will actually use ADA in the same way they use ETH on Uniswap and they use BNB on PancakeSwap to actually facilitate trades. They'll use it as a pair, essentially. And then you'll go and you'll choose the token that you want. So Hosky, for example. And then, for example, to ADA, it will preview it. And there you are. I was quite interested in the price of Hosky, actually, because it's a meme coin. Anyway, but that's for another video. So this is essentially how this is going to work. You connect your wallet, you'll click swap, and then you'll sign the transaction like you do with your MetaMask via clicking accept, and you'll be able to trade in and out. So it's a very basic DEX feature. You've got the liquidity over here. Because it's the testnet, they've actually not gone too much into detail with that. But essentially how you'll provide liquidity is you need to provide accurate or similar pairs. So what that means is for ADA, for example, let's say the price of ADA is $1 and you provide 100, you'll perhaps need $100 worth of DGED to make that pool tradable, if that makes sense. And we'll talk about permanent loss and everything when the actual DEX release. I'll go through it all with you and show you all the features of somebody who's done this on other protocols on different platforms. So that's SundaeSwap. Very, very excited. Right now you've got the swap and, of course, the liquidity feature. And then you'll, of course, have all the data on the homepage with how much liquidity is in what, etc., etc. Let's talk now about the price. Because in yesterday's video, we said, look, doesn't certainly look very likely you're going to see $7.50 to $10 by the end of the year. What does that mean? Does that mean you're not going to see it full stop? No, that means we're just not going to see that parabolic end to the year like many of us were expecting, and a perfect continuation of the Bitcoin 4-year cycle theory that then sees us enter a bear market in 2022. Things have changed. We've given you fundamental and technical reasons when we've looked at the lengthening cycle theory. Fundamental reasons like the players involved in the space are much larger. We have a higher market cap. So that means the actual halvening is going to have less of effect on the cycle. We've given you reasons for this. Many people panicked at this and got very upset because I didn't get the 100% spot on price with a date. It just seems madness to me. But what I am saying is that I still believe we're going to get there. We're just going to take a longer route. And this Elliott wave theory is absolutely in play, ladies and gentlemen, because you haven't yet. How you invalidate your Elliott wave theory is you come in to put a new low. Now, you guys know, essentially, I think we're just in the 2-wave pullback before we see that 3rd wave within this 5th wave of our kind of macro Elliott wave theory, which is where you are today. Still in this pullback, ready for this 3rd wave. This pullback, there's no rules to exactly how long the pullbacks go on for, but essentially you couldn't come down and invalidate where you started the move, because that invalidates the whole structure, and that is putting in a lower low to the previous. In the entire, since March 2020, this has just been nothing but higher lows and higher highs. This is continuation structure, and you're still seeing that today. And this price movement had everybody very scared. When you start taking out these levels here, then there's confirmation perhaps that you may be entering a bear market with Bitcoin coming and taking out this low over here. Because this is still actually a higher low of this one. The only thing you've got here is a marginally lower high. So there's no confirmation of a bear market just yet. I'm personally not worried. I think we could be in for a bit of consolidation before we see movement, unless we do start to see a real uptick over the coming days and get that V-shaped recovery and start getting back above our EMAs and some key levels, etc., etc. But you've got no reason to worry, in my opinion. Yes, this has been brutal. Yes, this has been a longer pullback than what I expected. I expected the cycle to play out slightly differently. But are we now not going to the destination that we have set out. I think we still are going to get there. We're just going to take a slightly different route. We've looked at the landmarks that were guiding us to our destination, and we found that we're slightly off from those landmarks. So we're setting another course. That's all we're doing, guys. You are still... I don't know how you can't be bullish on Cardano. It makes no sense to me whatsoever, especially given, and you're already seeing the fruits of that with SundaeSwap and the testnet, what's right around the corner. And this Elliott wave theory is still absolutely in play. And until it's invalidated, it's like Plan B stock to flow, for example. That was valid until invalidated. That's how these patterns work. Until you invalidate them, they're still in play. Because once you invalidate them, you have confirmation that you are now entering a different phase. Let's talk now. This is very interesting. This shows the illiquid supply of Bitcoin correlated with the price. And the illiquid supply, of course, is red. And the price is in black. And you can see that the illiquid supply, the supply that's not on exchanges and in wallets, continues to go up. Meanwhile, the price goes down. So you can see Bitcoin is being sold to hodlers. Illiquid supply plateaued briefly before buyers stepped back into the markets yesterday. This is what we see time and time with every single one. There's absolutely manipulation at play here. You can see it in the charts, ladies and gentlemen. You could see it with this Wyckoff distribution, which essentially Wyckoff came up with the methods that he came up with to combat institutionals, the composite man that manipulate markets time and time again, and milk retail. And this is what I want to talk to you about in the second half of this video. I want to talk to you about really what's going on with retail, because they're getting shaken around. And this is some very interesting data. This shows you that hodlers continue to accumulate despite the price action, and it shows you that it's really short hands, people that have only been in for a short period of time that are selling here due to panic, because they don't quite understand how this game works. I've been through some pretty brutal March 2020, 2018, you name it. I've been through some pretty brutal pullbacks. Even within 2017, we had a lot of brutal pullbacks. This is all par for the course, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very volatile asset class, and you need to act accordingly to that. Panicking is going to get you nowhere, and certainly blaming somebody else for your own choices. When we get something wrong on this channel, we hold our hands up. And we have always said end of year, end of cycle for our price predictions. We haven't ended the bull run in this cycle yet, ladies and gentlemen. And we don't even know how cycles are going to look into the future. So let's go on to Glassnode. This is interesting. This we mentioned in the earlier video. We do give a market update where we look at the crypto space, look at the traditional financial world, and we look at some related dogma to it. Assessing the Bitcoin sell-off. This is from Glassnode, an on-chain analytics company for Bitcoin, and they also do other coins, I believe. Bitcoin hodlers realized the third largest on-chain capitulation in history over the weekend, with over $2.18 billion in realized losses. This compares to $1.38 billion in March 2020 and $2.65 billion in May. $3.45 billion in June, and this, of course, is your chart. So this was a pretty serious capitulation, a pretty serious slam down, if you will. And this is a real shakeout of leverage. We'll move on to the next slide, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin total supply held by long-term hodlers. Question is, which cohort of Bitcoin hodlers were realizing these losses? By cohort, it just means which faction, which group, if you will. Was it hodlers? Was it people that are new to the market, etc., etc.? If we look at long-term hodler supply, we can actually see their total holdings are unchanged over the past week. This makes it probable it was recent buys. It's people panicking, getting out of the market. It's people that are leveraged and getting shaken out of their positions, causing forced sellers. There's a lot going up. There's a clear... The biggest addresses for Bitcoin play an accumulation game. And every time you get a dip, it's like a feeding frenzy to them. And you are seeing the illiquid supply, hodlers continue to gobble up the supply, and retail getting shaken out. This is how it goes. Let's continue on with this, because some very interesting things within this. Bitcoin short-term hodlers, SOPR. The short-term hodlers SOPR metrics, on the other hand, show very significant losses were realized by this cohort. So short-term hodlers saw more significant losses, certainly than long term. Spending by STHs was the least profitable it has been since the 29k lows set back in July. So short-term hodlers were essentially very unprofitable. They're selling at a loss. We'll move on to the next part, and then there's something very interesting to wrap it up. Bitcoin net transfer volume from /to exchanges. All exchanges, 7-day moving average, exponential moving average. However, Bitcoin exchange inflows only hit 2k and 3.2k BTC. Whilst meaningful, it is a small amount compared to May's plus 10k. So only 3.2k worth of Bitcoin actually went into exchanges. In May, it was over 10k. So by it going into exchanges, it's people looking to get out of their position. So it was still small, or it was still significant, but smaller than we've previously seen, which is a positive sign. With almost 25% of future contracts closed, we can determine that a leverage flush out is the most likely sell side driver. I would absolutely agree. And this goes into the futures and the futures contracts and how we saw a huge... When I say Bitcoin and crypto and we're in a different game now, you know, a Bitcoin ETF, futures ETF is absolutely at play here. We're in a more mature market, and it's going to embody, by more mature, really what we mean is there's traditional financial people within this realm, and they do the same thing that they do in that realm, now in this one, and we're kind of merging, if you will. And you can see here, Bitcoin futures market have experienced a significant event with over $5.4 billion in open interest closed yesterday. Huge amount of sell pressure. Total futures open interest declined from 22 billion to 16.6 billion in one day, a decline of 24.5%. This, of course, is your chart. So you can see there's reasons, there's correlations to what is going on, and it really ties in back with us saying this is more of a mature market and we're going to veer a different course as a result. So that's really all I have for you in this video, guys. My videos are long, I know that, but we just got so much information to cram into them. I'm going to leave you on that note. Don't panic, hang in there. I'm certainly going to be sitting on my hands over the next couple of days to watch what direction this really takes. This is a positive sign. We could get capitulation like we saw over here and over here, or consolidation, I should say, not capitulation, and set up structure to break to the upside. But I still think we're in a bull market and don't think you guys have anything to worry about. Remember, hodlers win in this game. That's all I have for you in this video, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to leave you on that note. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and I'll catch you all in the next YouTube video.